Welcome to NEPA Sports Extra. I'm Dave Rosengrant, and this week we are featuring Altered Beast, a non-profit multi-sport facility in Wilkes-barre. While the establishment's main sport is wrestling, they also offer baseball, flag football, jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, and more for all ages. Altered Beast has a pretty busy summer coming up, with wrestling camps and clinics and tournaments coming up. The camps and clinics are highlighted by former Penn State star Bo Nickel, who was a 3-time national champion at Penn State and recently took second at the U.S. Olympic qualifier just back in April. Altered Beast will also host a clinic with Coach Mike Kraus from Next Level Wrestling Academy. Kraus is one of the highest rated youth wrestling coaches in the country. The Wilkes University wrestling coaching staff, led by John Loudenslager, will also be holding some instructional sessions at Altered Beast coming up this summer. In addition, some of the big tournaments that wrestlers will go to from Altered Beast include the National Wrestling Tournament in Tulsa, in which 3 girls from Altered Beast will be participating. There's a total of 5 girls from our area who will be participating in Tulsa, but 3 are from Altered Beast. The 3 from Altered Beast who are heading there in a few weeks are Caitlin Pegarella from Greater Nanticoke area, Sierra Ripka, also from Greater Nanticoke area, and Piper Stanford from Wyoming Seminary. We will be catching up with those 3 on next week's podcast episode of NEPA Sports Extra. One of the girls who takes part and is a big asset to Altered Beast is Madison Vitale. She is just 11 years old, and she's also a coach at Altered Beast and host of the club's podcast. Did I mention she's only 11? She's got a lot going on. She's got a bright future. She's one of many of the girls from Altered Beast who have a bright future, not only in wrestling, but just in life overall. Chantel Vitale, who is Madison's mother and is one of the partners of Altered Beast, is one of the people at Altered Beast who is really helping get female wrestling on the map here in Pennsylvania. Girls wrestling is one of those sports where participation is pretty high once you're in the elementary level, and then it starts to dwindle off once it gets to junior high and even high school, as participation just falls to the floor after that point, once the girls end up wrestling with boys more often. There's a lot of things that need to happen before the PIAA can sanction it to be an actual sport, so to speak, in the PIAA. But Madison and Chantel and everyone at Altered Beast are trying to help out. And in this area, Wyoming Seminary obviously has a very, very successful girls wrestling program. And Delaware Valley recently announced that it will have its own girls wrestling team coming up soon. But other than that, the girls who wrestle in our area most of the time will be wrestling against boys. Not that there's a big problem for those girls. It just seems participation seems to dwindle after a few years of, getting old, I guess. Getting older and not dealing with, but having to wrestle boys all the time. Anyway, I caught up with Madison Vitale and her mom, Chantel Vitale, at the enormous Altered Beast venue on Old River Road in Wilkes-barre. And here is that conversation. All right, Chantel, thanks for joining us. Tell us the story of Altered Beast Wrestling, or just Altered Beast in general, and how everything got started.
So Altered Beast is a nonprofit organization. We offer wrestling, jiu-jitsu, baseball, strength and conditioning, flag football. We keep everything 2 years and under free of charge, just because at that age or at that experience level, you don't know if that's something you want to do, and we don't expect people to pay for an experience in the beginning.
How did it get started?
It started as just a wrestling program a few years ago, and it just keeps growing. We keep adding new things, different ideas.
What is the main wrestling group, so to speak? Like, how is it divided?
So we have our girls program that we just recently started. We also have our boys program. So, which we mesh the girls in there here and there. We also have a beginners now. So we've really opened that up, where in the past we were just straight wrestling. There was no divided groups. So we're trying to make everyone welcome to the different experience levels.
So when it first started then, was it like you would have elementary and high school together?
Just all elementary, and it was mainly, we had a girls program for a little bit, but they all kind of morphed their way into the boys program, where now, our girls program is just building.
Okay. But it's open for anyone. Like, it's open for elementary or high schoolers, right?
Yeah, we actually have some college wrestlers that come here from time to time.
Okay, so how do they mesh with, the younger group, or do they just help them out? And
they do. They work out on their own too. They bring their own partners, but then they work with the little ones also. So they're very helpful. Okay.
Now you mentioned the girls program being fairly new. I love girls wrestling. I wish it would take off. I wish the PIAA would finally come to their senses and sanction it as a sport. But regardless, it's got a ways to go yet, unfortunately. But what are you doing here with girls wrestling?
Well, we have two girls coaches. We felt maybe girls would be more comfortable having younger girls coach them. And it seems to be building. Like, we did a news report and more girls showed up. So it's definitely picking up here. We're trying to encourage girls to want to stay with it, because it seems like when they go to tournaments, they wind up wrestling boys because there's not much for them in the girls, or they wrestle girls 20 pounds heavier than them. So we're trying to encourage as much as we can here to make them as comfortable as possible. So our girls that we have here are very helpful with that.
What are the ages of the girls that are in the program currently? Right
now we have from 4 to 18.
Okay.
So it's a very wide range.
And how do they mesh together? Is that the same thing as with the boys? They just kind of come in and do their own thing?
Our younger girls come in earlier, and then the older ones actually help them. And then as soon as they're done, they go into their own practices. So it works well together here.
And I saw the news report you were talking about with Caitlin.
Yes.
So she's a coach, but does she kind of work out too? Is that
yeah, she trains too. Yeah. So that's the one thing that we have good here is actually she helps coach. Madison helps coach on times. Is our coaches also work? They train with us.
And what's the response like? What has the response been for the girls? How many do you have here at a certain time?
We have about 10 to 15 girls from time to time. When it's a nicer day out, a lot of them play baseball. Mm-hmm. But when they can get here, they get here.
That's a nice turnout.
Yes.
Why do you think it's kind of taking off like this?
Well, from what I heard, the girls that are here right now, they've wrestled before, but they just haven't felt welcome where they've gone. And after seeing that news report, they wanted to come and try it, and they're loving it. They're telling their friends, and they're all coming and trying it out.
How do you... I'm a father myself of a daughter who, she likes sports. I'd love to get her into wrestling. But what's your sales pitch to a younger girl who maybe is kind of shy about doing something and to get her involved and stick with it?
So honestly, how we got most of our girls too that have never wrestled before or have no wrestling background in family, because that's usually the big thing is a brother wrestled, a dad wrestled. That's how the girls get into it. Is with our strength and conditioning and our flag football program, those kids actually mesh over. And we tell them, hey, would you like to try out wrestling? We have the girls program. And that's actually how we get a lot of our girls encouraged into the girls wrestling program.
Your daughter Madison is here.
Yes.
She's 11, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me how she got into wrestling?
Her older brother actually was a wrestler.
Okay.
So she kind of just one day was like, I want to wrestle this Saturday in the tournament. And the rest is history. She hasn't stopped since then. So
Madison, when you first said that, were you practicing it all before that and you just kind of jumped into it?
I never practiced. I just went right into the tournament.
And how did that go?
I took second out of 5 people, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And how long ago so that would have been, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, just about.
So, and ever since you got that success, you just decided to stick with it? Is that how that worked?
Yeah.
When you first jumped into it, what made you want to do it without any practice or anything?
Truly, I think it was kind of to make my brother mad, because he would always say that I didn't do any like sports at that time or age, so I kind of just did it for that reason, and then I fell in love with it.
Did you ever wrestle with your brother just at home, fooling around or anything?
Sort of, but it wasn't really as fluent.
How much older is he than you?
He's 14, so 3 years older. No, I mean 15, so he's 4 years older.
So you were... How about weight-wise? Were you close in weight-wise, or...?
No, at that time, I think I was about 45 pounds, and he was 60, 80. 60, 70.
But still, even, just doing it for fun with him, it's got to give you a little bit of experience without actually practicing, right?
Yeah.
So what was that tournament like for you when you enter into it for the first time? Was it overwhelming? Was it fun?
For me, it was kind of basically normal, because when my brother, he always did it, so we were at every tournament. So the environment was kind of the same, but stepping on the mat was a lot different.
Where was that tournament at?
Pittston.
Okay.
They had an in-house tournament.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. So just to kind of stick with the girls theme here, I know there are some girls who come here, they're in high school, and they're getting some national attention. Can you talk about them?
Yes, so we have Caitlin. She travels everywhere. She was just down in Texas. She's one of our coaches. She does a fantastic job. We also have Piper. She goes to SEM. She kind of brings more of the freestyle. They both have been bringing a lot of freestyle to us, but they work so well together in their coaching abilities. We also have Sierra. She's in junior high. She just won a Greco championship, I think 2 weeks ago. But, there's nothing but success coming with our girls. And to be honest with you, I think it's the way that they're being trained. With having the older girls kind of bring it down, it's really helping. They're a lot more comfortable, it seems.
So I would think that you'd take a lot of pride in seeing those girls, that they come here and they're going to such big things.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you feel like when you see them doing things like that?
It's exciting. 2 months ago, I think we took 5 girls down to the Northeast Folk Style Championship, and all 5 girls placed. They all placed top 3. So, that was our first, real blowout experience to realize what our girls are capable of. And then we went to states, and 3 of our girls placed first. I think in one placed second, another third. But all of our girls, again, who went there, they all placed. And it's just very exciting, because there's not very much in our area, of anybody showcasing the girls, for that matter. I think that's one thing that's very sad, is they don't give the girls a lot of credit.
So how does girls wrestling have to take that next step in your mind?
Honestly, we just keep putting it out there. We have to teach them not to give up. And that's one thing. We do get discouraged at times, but we still keep trying. No matter what we could do, we keep putting more things out, more info, try it, try a tournament. whatever we can possibly do to build it up, we keep trying, and that's all we can do at this point.
Tell us a little bit about what the PIAA has to do to sanction it as a PIAA sport.
I think, well, one of the issues I know we had, our high school girls have talked about is, for starters, they don't make girl cut singlets in some of the schools. They don't care to offer them to them. They don't care to give them a better option. It's just throw a t-shirt under whatever we give you. So that right there in itself, I mean, you have girls at this age, they're comfortable wrestling boys. It doesn't bother them. But as they get a little bit older, you know, they need something different. It's not the same. I think starting by making them feel comfortable, because what we hear is a lot of girls drop out come high school because they just don't feel comfortable wrestling boys. So I think it has to start from, honestly, the early ages, and we have to build it up from there and just keep going. But we all have to stay on the same page. And that's where I think we lose it, because after elementary, junior high kind of veers off into a different direction, and then from high school it veers off. We don't stay stable from beginning to end, and I think that's very important.
How do you keep that stability?
Well, we offer our girls as much as they need. We pay attention to what bothers them. We ask them a lot of questions, you know, and what makes them comfortable. One of the biggest things is the weight differences. They don't feel comfortable with that. And, of course, when boys hit a certain age, they're a lot stronger than the girls. So it's not, you know, beneficial for some girls to work out with boys. So I think just working together with other clubs, if that's our thing that we're trying to do now, is we're trying to get other clubs in here so we can just be one. You know, we can get the best experience for everyone, all our girls.
There's a bunch of different clubs in this area.
Yes.
Obviously, there's Luzerne County and then Lackawanna County and up further and things like that. Have you had any success getting, you know, other girls here from other clubs?
We have. We actually are working with 2 other local clubs right now, and they're on the same page. They want to work together to build this sport, to build the girls and the boys, everything. They know that it's not beneficial to stay separated, that the best outcome is, you know, to work together.
What, again, just back to the PIAA thing for a second, besides, you know, the uniforms, singlets, things like that, there's a lot of red tape, I guess you can say, that the PIAA is kind of putting off. So what, is it just lack of participation, you think it is?
I think it's very complicated, because to sanction girls wrestling, there's like a 50-page pamphlet you have to read through to understand. And to be quite honest, everyone we ask, I don't think anybody's fully read through those 50 pages, because we don't get why they're making it so difficult. One of the biggest issues we've heard is schools are afraid to lose their funding if they don't get enough participation. But I feel like you have to make exceptions when you're trying to grow something. There shouldn't be, you know, a threat of funding when it comes to trying to build something. Mm-hmm. Because you have girls softball, you have girls soccer. So what makes wrestling so different? And people wonder, you know, is it because they still feel this is a boys' sport and they don't support it? So there's a lot of questions out there that are not being answered.
It's like, how can you build something if you can't?
Right, yes.
You know, they're telling you to build something, but, well, they're saying you don't have the participation, so you can't get something, but how do you know you don't have the participation if you're not letting us build it?
Exactly. It's crazy. Yeah. It definitely is.
So there's more to wrestling here. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, you have some big things coming up here wrestling-wise with Bo Nickel,
yes,
Coach
Bo
Kraus.
Nickel's coming in July, and Mike Kraus is coming actually in 2 weeks. So, yeah, those are going to be some awesome clinics we have coming up. We're working on a couple other ones. At the end of August, we're going to have the local Wilkes College. They're going to come in and do a clinic for us. All of this is, you know, with Wilkes is benefiting us 100%. They're donating their time. Coach John Laugenslager, Drew Feldman, they're bringing in a bunch of guests. So that's something else to look forward to that we're announcing right now at this very moment.
How do you get big names like Bo Nickel and Coach Kraus here?
You know, people, they talk about it, and then we kind of reach out, and as soon as we tell them where we are, they love that idea, and they want to come, especially knowing, you know, what we're doing here, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you're not slouching on the big names here, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
If somebody wants to register for these clinics, how do they do that?
The best place to go is our Facebook page. The info is always on there, Altered Beast Wrestling. So everything's usually events-wise are all located on there.
Okay. So some of the other things that go on here, jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, flag football.
Yes.
Let's talk about jiu-jitsu first.
So jiu-jitsu, we just recently teamed up with NEP MMA, and they have Juggernaut Jiu-Jitsu there with Coach James. Coach James and Kyle were very welcoming to us. We parted ways with our original coach, and our kids were very worried. They were a little upset. They didn't think that, it was going to work out for them. And James and Kyle have just been so welcoming to our kids. Our kids absolutely love it there. So we've actually partnered up with them.
So that's like where it's through Altered Beast, but it's held there? Is that how that works? Or?
It's strictly NEP MMA's thing down there. So,
okay.
But that's where our kids go. That's our supported jiu-jitsu club.
Okay. And the strength and conditioning. Talk a little bit about that.
That's run here. We do all kind of stuff. The conditioning we start off with, we have tons of workout equipment. We have ladders, kettlebells, medicine balls. We usually run that about 2 hours, 2 days a week. We're actually, July 17th, are going to have a strength and conditioning, like a little fitness challenge. All the things that we're training for now, we're going to incorporate that. We're going to have all kind of prizes and stuff for the kids.
The flag football, you said it kind of all works together with everything. So how does everything tie together with the flag football, jiu-jitsu, strength and conditioning, wrestling, everything?
So knowing that our kids are trying to cross-train in basically everything, we've put together our weekly schedule. Our schedule is very busy. From 4 to 8 something, or 5 to 8 something is going on here. If not, we're at jiu-jitsu. But a lot of the stuff they learn in flag football is so much wrestling related, and same thing with jiu-jitsu. The things that they learn there, everything crosses over. The strength and conditioning helps with all of it. I mean, we're building some crazy cross-trained athletes here.
Is the flag football in this building too?
Yes,
or?
We actually have turf down in the basement here.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, there's a lot of room to do basically anything here. When it's nice out, we do go to Kirby Park and let the kids play there too.
How big is the flag football field?
It's about the same area as our mats here.
Okay.
Upstairs, it's the same length downstairs.
So kind of like maybe an arena football team kind of.
You could do it. It's big enough. That's actually where our baseball team practices.
Oh, okay.
When it's wintertime.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. So and you guys started in Altered Beast in the Scranton area too, right?
Yes, with TNT Elite. They're up there. We figured it was closer for people who are up north.
And how's that working out?
Right now they took a break, but they were doing lives there, and they're in baseball season up there. That's really big with a lot of the kids that were up there. So okay. They'll be starting that back up in about 2 months. Okay.
And there's a junior podcast that goes on here too.
Yes, that's run by Madison here.
Okay. Madison, tell me a little bit about the podcast. Some big names that you've had on it, and
there's plenty of big names we've had on it. Actually, we've had Jason Knoll, Shakir Rashid, and a couple other. Actually, I think that was it. And then there was a couple other just like, littler guests that we've had just come on. We sometimes we'll do different like challenges or something on there, but normally I'll talk about the schedule or what we have going on, or if there's like any weights that need to be filled by teams. But it's basically just to have fun and like get a break and just talk.
Give me an example of something fun that you've talked to one of those guys about.
Well, whenever we have someone, we may basically just interview them.
Okay.
But sometimes we'll do challenges where we have a wheel that we have to spin, and whatever number you get, like we did a challenge that whatever you get, you have to do amount of push-ups wise. So we did that with some of them. But.
Interesting. How many? Do you remember how many push-ups Jason Nolf had to do?
No. I don't.
How does that help you? You're young, obviously. I wish I was your age, but like going forward, is that something you like? You want to get into broadcasting, communications, or?
Many people people tell me that I'm good at it, so I think that I may want to do it. Maybe as like one of my first jobs, but I want more of a higher paying job than that. But yeah.
Cool. So you're getting good experience doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can do it all here. You can. Do you live here? Do you ever go home? I'll ask your mom. Does she ever go home?
No. She's always training, and when she does go home, she's still training there too. Okay,
so if somebody's wants to come here to Altered Beast, tell us where you're located. How if somebody wants to come to a wrestling practice, what do they do?
So all they do, like I said, our schedule is always on Facebook, but it's simple as you go on there. There's a little registration up at the top. Fill that out. If you have any questions, they can contact me. All my info's on there. And that's, again, at the Altered Beast Wrestling page. Or you can stop in at 237 Old River Road in Wilkes-barre. We're usually here from 5 to 8, Monday through Thursday.
Walk-ins are welcome?
Yep, as always. Yeah, always.
Okay. Chantel Vitale in Madison, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this week's episode of NEPA Sports Extra. As always, give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook with our handle at NEPA Sports Extra. That is NEPA SPORTZ XTRA. And if you have a business you would like to get the word out about, or you would just like to contact us via email at nepasportsextra@gmail.com. And until next time, I am Dave Rosengrant, saying keep some extra time in your life for some sports in NEPA.